Hello, and welcome to the Model Railroads and Structures Show. Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of the Model Railroads and Structures Show. This is part 2 of Gillmeister Coal, and in this episode we will be weathering the coal tank and adding the decals and doing a bunch more stuff. So stay tuned and check it out. In the last video we built the coal tower with a little bit of weathering on it, but we want to get a little bit more onto it to accentuate the features. So I'm using MIG pigments for this. I like pigments better than chalks because the pigments stick to the object I'm putting them on after I apply alcohol or fixer. So all I'm doing here is adding pigments to the plaster parts and the plastic coal chutes above, and just getting it in there. If some powder falls off onto my paper below, I'll just pick it up and try to get it onto the model. Before I add the alcohol to fix the pigments to the model, I'm gonna add some rust chalk to just add a little bit of variation to the color. There's no rhyme or reason to the way I add chalks or pigments to the model. I use the alcohol to move the pigments and chalks around so that on the high portions I just keep on working the chalks in until they seep into the cracks. The weathering powders will soak into the brush, so you can move on and add weathering where you didn't add it before. I'm going to add it to the ledge along the bottom, just above the coal chutes here. Moving on, I start adding chalks into the crease between the base and the tank itself because that's where a lot of dirt would collect. I'm going to put the weathering on first, and later on I'm going to add some plants to make it look like some sprouts are coming out of the little crease there. And like I did before, I'm going to add alcohol to fix the powders to the model. Now that that's done, I'm going to add gray pigments to all the seams on the coal tank itself. Sorry for the video here, it doesn't really show how I did it. So to explain, all I did was place my dry brush in the pigments and ran it along the lines on the model, and then came back and hit it with the alcohol to be able to smudge it in. Smudging the the powders in fixes it right to the model. And it's important to do this because if you just put the powders on by themselves, they'll fall off over time. And if you put over a clear coat on top of them, they won't smudge in. They won't look uniform in the way they sit on the model. As you can see, it looks really good in my opinion. After adding all the weathering to the coal tower, I decided to add the slide-on decal. To apply this decal, you need just plain water, and you need to soak the decal in the water. Now you have to be really careful with these decals because they can just break apart on you in no time at all. So what I do is I place it on the model and I score a line to where I want to place the decal so that I don't have it off center when I apply it. Because once you get the decal on the model, moving it is a challenge because it could break apart. So I soak it in the water for a few seconds so that the paper actually feels like it's got some water in it. Then I start moving the decal on the paper around with my thumbs so that I can make sure that it's totally saturated with water. This makes it slide on the paper, and it'll allow me to put an edge on the model and slide the paper out from under it. Kind of like that table trick that I always fail at doing. I can't stress enough how careful you must be with these decals because once they break, putting them together is just a can of worms. Because one piece breaks, then another breaks, then it rips down, you know, yada yada. Just be careful, would ya? Now that that's over, we got to get the decal to now sit on the model, is what I like to say. So I'm going to use a dry brush and just flatten it out from the center to the outside. This gets rid of the creases on the decal itself. After I'm done getting the creases out, I'm going to use the little bottle off to the side called Solvacet from Walthers. This is a solvent. What this does is it softens the decal so that when it dries, it's going to sit down on the model and stick to it. It's also going to hug all the rivets and the little holes and just going to sit properly as if it was painted on the model. After that's done, I'm gonna hit the model again with some alcohol so that I can let the weathering smudge a little bit more, and I'm gonna make it look like there's streaks coming down the model. I'm gonna add a little bit more to this later. This is just a little bit of a touch to keep things going. Now that the decals are on and the tank is weathered, I'm going to add the hand grabs for the ladders. These ladders allow access for the clean out doors. Using the templates provided in the kit, I tape them to the model and use my pin vise with a very small drill bit. I couldn't find my pin vise for the drill bit, so I'm just using my number 11 razor blade handle. It's a pin vise as well. So I'm drilling all the way through the plastic. This will take some time, so be patient. After the holes for the hand grabs are drilled, I'm going to add a spacer so that when I add the hand grabs to the model, they don't fall right down into the holes. For the rivet counters amongst us, I know, that's a little bit too wide of a spacer, but I want to have it so that people can see the hand grabs and I'm not too worried about fidelity. I'm using CA to attach the hand grabs to the model. I'm not too worried about the CA showing up on top of the model because it's going to become part of the weathering. If you think about it, these hand grabs are usually welded to the structure, so this gel CA is just going to look like the weld. Oops, looks like the spacer got glued to the model. That's okay. Little push with my knife will get it out. Off camera, I added the clean out doors and the handles, the metal handles with the CA glue. I'm now just gonna go over with some reddish brown paint, some burnt umber and raw sienna, just to give it the same color as the rest of the tank. I'm using a real small amount of paint on this. All I want to do is add the color. I don't want to add too much weathering to this because I'll be coming back with the weathering powders to make it all dirty. Get out of here, you damn cat. Now, using my brown paint, burnt umber I think it is, I'm just gonna add some color to the seams on top of the tank. All I'm gonna do is dab a little bit of color on and wipe it off with my finger. This might seem like a crude technique, but it works. These lines that we're simulating here are like the grease and oil, the creosote that comes from the coal, you know, just the weathering that just happens on the model. Weathering goes all over, remember. So that pretty much sums up part 2 of the Gillmeister Coal build. In the next video, we're going to start using the laser cut wood parts and adding the model to the diorama base. Thank you for watching my video, and if you liked the video, please subscribe and like and share and do all those things. Have a good day.